Hey everyone, welcome to a special NoDQ Live here on Monday night, January 30th, 2017. WWE RAW just concluded a huge edition of Monday Night Raw with the debut of Samoa Joe. That's right, Samoa Joe is now on the main roster. He made his debut. We also had Brock Lesnar officially challenging Goldberg for WrestleMania 33. And next week on Raw in Portland, Oregon, Bill Goldberg will be appearing on that show to address Brock Lesnar. I will be there live next week in Portland to cover Raw and check out the show in person. Hopefully it's a good show. Things are starting to pick up as we get closer to WrestleMania. Very happy to see Samoa Joe. Go ahead and leave your comments here on Facebook. Samoa Joe, about freaking time. I totally agree. Very happy to see Samoa Joe on the main roster now. Great ending to Raw. Love the fact that Joe is now Triple H's henchman. I'm just hoping that it will be Joe versus Rollins at WrestleMania instead of Rollins versus Triple H. To me, when Triple H was doing his promo, I wasn't really feeling it. And I liked the idea much better of Joe being the hired gun to take out Seth Rollins. I'm really hoping that it isn't just Joe putting over Rollins at Fastlane and then it leads to Triple H versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That's what I'm fearing at this point. It's looking like Joe is going to be on Raw now, and I guess that's a change from what was rumored to be John Cena versus Samoa Joe, although things could always change. Maybe Rollins will beat Joe at Fastlane and then Joe goes to SmackDown, but I'm not so sure about that. I think I like this better. I like Joe going after Seth Rollins and being the hired gun and let that be the WrestleMania match. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Todd asks about Finn Balor. How does he fit into WrestleMania? That's a great question. I mean, at this point, Balor is still not ready to return, and he even posted on something on Instagram about all the various things that happened due to his injury. So, will he be at WrestleMania? He very well could show up at WrestleMania and make a special appearance, or maybe even appear the night after WrestleMania to begin his big comeback. Time will tell. So at this point, it's still a big question mark when it comes to Finn Balor. Let's see some of the comments. Will Joe kill Gilberto? That's a good one. So overall, yeah, I'm definitely a little bit more optimistic about WrestleMania now that we got some big storylines kicking into high gear. Still not sure how I feel about Brock Lesnar and Goldberg for WrestleMania. What do you guys think? Are you looking forward to it? I will say that Paul Heyman cut an amazing promo. I thought he did a tremendous job, and he did everything he could to build up hype for this final battle between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, but I'm still on the fence about it. I'm not sure how I feel about this, and if I'm really excited to see them wrestle one more time. I mean, what does Goldberg have to prove? I guess we'll find out what he has to say next week, and if something will be done to elevate this storyline further between Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. Sting versus Taker. No, Sting versus Taker is not happening. People just need to accept the idea that Sting is done. Let's see here. Brandon Anderson. TNA is taken over. Ben Jones said, Heyman done great, but I don't see a point to the match. Craig Jones says, triple threat. Cena versus Orton versus Bray. That's a possibility. I mean, we could very well see a fatal four-way match even with John Cena, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. Put the four of them in a match together at WrestleMania. I mean, I would not mind seeing that, actually. And that way AJ Styles gets to be in the WWE title match. And, you know, you have a lot of top stars. Why not do a four-way? I mean, actually, I like that better than the idea of doing just Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, since we've already seen it. I know they've been building up the storyline, but I'd like to see something a little bit different. You know, a fatal four-way match I think would be interesting, and there have been some awesome fatal four-way matches in the past. I think back to like that one in 2007 with Cena, Orton, and Edge, and Shawn Michaels. There have been some really good ones over the years, so I definitely feel they could have a really great match with the four of them all in the ring at the same time. Thoughts on Baron Corbin eliminating Braun? Really shocked by that. That was definitely something I was not expecting. And time will tell if WWE ends up doing something with Strowman versus Corbin at WrestleMania. Maybe an inter-promotional match between Raw and SmackDown. Because I'm assuming it's going to be Reigns versus Strowman at Fastlane. That certainly seems to be the direction coming off of Raw this week. AJ versus Taker was way better than Taker versus Reigns. Well, you know, I think I would agree with you on that. I mean, like I said in my other videos, I think that Roman Reigns needs to go heel if they're going to do that match at WrestleMania. The crowd's going to boo Reigns out of the building, and I think that there's no other way. I mean, yeah, they could have Reigns win the match, maybe have Undertaker beat Reigns, but Reigns is going to be the heel in that match. So it's really interesting that WWE would do that match for WrestleMania and not turn Roman Reigns heel. I mean, that would be the perfect opportunity. Todd, I do not follow football, or no, it's not even football. See, it's basketball. I don't follow any of that stuff, so I wouldn't be able to talk sports with you as far as stuff that's going on in Portland. Thoughts on Joe versus Rollins? I love it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I think it's an awesome direction, and I think Samoa Joe is off to a great start. I think it was a very strong ending to Raw, and that's part of the reason I'm doing this video here, because I thought that was a pretty big deal to end Raw with Samoa Joe. And, you know, some are arguing that he should have debuted at the Rumble, and the pro to that argument is that he would have gotten perhaps a bigger reaction. Actually, I'm sure he would have gotten a bigger reaction at the Rumble. You know, this crowd wasn't quite as hot for it, but then again, they were not hot for a lot of things on this show. And there was the holy shit chant, there was Joe chant, so you know it did get over, and you know I think it was a solid reaction, and you know I'm just happy, you know, he did get to debut in front of millions of people on Raw in the main event segment, so it's still a pretty big way to debut, and perhaps it was better than having him appear at the Rumble and then get eliminated by somebody. So in a way, this might have been even stronger way for him to debut. You know, everyone could argue about that. Chad asks about Nakamura debuting on the main roster. I think it'll be after WrestleMania. I don't think it'll happen until after WrestleMania. I'm thinking we'll see Nakamura versus Bobby Roode in a rematch at the TakeOver show before WrestleMania, and then Nakamura will maybe debut the night after WrestleMania. I think that would be a good time to debut Nakamura, the night after WrestleMania 33. You think Fastlane will have Joe versus Rollins? I mean, that's something I could definitely see happening, and Joe loses, and then Triple H steps in and faces Rollins at Mania. I mean, my gut feeling is that's going to happen, and I hope that's not the case. I'd rather not see Joe just be the guy to build up to Triple H versus Seth Rollins. I'd rather see Rollins versus Joe at WrestleMania, quite frankly, and maybe sometime down the line. I'm not really interested in seeing Triple H versus Seth Rollins. I just think they've botched this storyline too much, and it's just not compelling to me personally. Universal title match at WrestleMania. Billy's asking about what I think that match will be. I mean, it could end up being Goldberg versus Lesnar. I mean, we'll see what happens when Goldberg shows up on Raw next week, if he gets involved in the Universal title picture or not. You know, it's just weird. You would think that Goldberg, you know, he did mention, you know, maybe going for the WWE title and having one last run. So you would think that, you know, since he already proved himself against Lesnar, he's going to say, you know what, I'm not interested. I'm going to go for the WWE title instead. And then at Fastlane, you could have Brock Lesnar cost Goldberg the match, or have Goldberg win and then Lesnar attacks him, and that sets up the WrestleMania match. So there's a couple of different ways they could go with that. How will the Owens and Chris Jericho feud end? Well, hopefully it will end with a match at WrestleMania. I mean, they've been building up to this match for a very long time now. And, you know, maybe it'll be for the U.S. title, which is fine. You know, I think it would have been better to have been for the Universal title. But, you know, I'm not expecting Owens to be Universal Champion heading into Mania. I think he will more than likely lose it before then. But Owens and Jericho for the title, for any title, just them having a match, I think will be great. You know, they've invested a lot of time into this storyline, and it's been slowly building up, and should be great stuff at WrestleMania. I'm really looking forward to that. I think they've done a great job with that. Who do you think will be the Chamber participants? I mean, the obvious guys. Cena's in it, obviously. AJ's in it. Probably Dean Ambrose and The Miz. Trying to think of a couple other names. Maybe Baron Corbin. You would think it would be the top guys on SmackDown, the top 6 obvious contenders. Let's see here. What match do you personally want to see at WrestleMania? I'd love to see Joe versus Rollins at this point. You know, I've wanted to see Cena versus Undertaker, but I don't think that that's the direction. Somebody asked about Luke Harper's involvement. I don't see Luke Harper being in a high-profile match at WrestleMania, unfortunately for him, because, you know, he's a great talent, and, you know, some feel he's very underrated, and I would definitely argue that, but I don't see him being in a high-profile match. I think it's more than likely he'll be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal or something like that. Thomas says the finish wasn't that great to Styles versus Cena. Would it have been up to ROH level greatness if it ended with a roll up? I mean, I was fine with what they did. You know, Cena doing the AA and then hitting the second AA after that. I mean, I thought the match was fine. You know, I think it was as good as it was gonna be, with Cena being the babyface and winning the title. You know, if Cena had turned heel or they had done some sort of big angle with that match, I think I would have liked it more. Roman Reigns is the best of all time, number 30, baby. Got a lot of trolls in here. That's the downside to doing these videos. I get all the troll comments in here. But it's okay. It's all good in the hood. Joe beating Lesnar at Extreme Rules for the belt. Sound good? I would wait until SummerSlam. I mean, I don't think Lesnar is going to be around after WrestleMania anyways. I would build up Joe and then set up Lesnar versus Joe for SummerSlam. To me, that would be a great match to do for SummerSlam and be Lesnar's next big opponent after Goldberg. I would definitely go in that direction for sure. Hashtag anyone but you, Roman. And then Tommy says, we want Benoit. This is what's great about NoDQ Live. We get all the troll comments here, so go ahead and give me your best troll comments. When do you think Finn returns? I would think that WWE is going to do everything in their power to have him be back by WrestleMania. That's my guess, and you know, at the very least, he'll appear at the show in some capacity. Maybe not wrestling, but I think we will see Finn Balor at WrestleMania in some fashion. Any chance of seeing another live sex segment? Don't think so. Highly unlikely in all likelihood. Does The Undertaker use Bosley for hair loss? Probably, and maybe I need to start using that too. Who knows? Reigns versus Strowman at Mania. Don't think they're going to do that at Mania. I think they're doing Reigns versus Undertaker. I mean, they got Fastlane coming up. I'm thinking it's going to be Reigns versus Strowman at Fastlane. I mean, I could be wrong. You know, I'd rather see Cena versus Undertaker, but my gut feeling is, you know, the based on what they did at the Rumble, it's going to be Reigns versus Undertaker. Shaq versus Undertaker. Yeah, that would be an interesting one for sure. So yeah, that pretty much sums up what I thought about Raw, what I said earlier. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'm going to sign off here. Again, reminder, next week I'll be there in Portland to cover the show. I'll be tweeting live, twitter.com/NoDQ, The feed will be on NoDQ.com, so check that out. And I'll also be at Raw at Staples Center later in February, which is going to be interesting. So 2 Raws for me in person in a 1-month span. I'm hoping the shows will be good. I mean, I'm definitely feeling more optimistic now after tonight's Raw that next week's show will be really good. And I'm hoping the Raw in LA will be really good. So we'll see how that goes. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.